Welcome to the Crimson Engine. My name is Rubidium. Today we are talking more about AI. Last week I launched my AI for Filmmakers course. Thank you to everyone who checked it out. It had a really great response so far. There were a lot of interesting comments in the YouTube video, and it brought up for me how misunderstood AI is in filmmaking right now. And I think a lot of people still are clinging to this idea of the filmmaker is the person that holds the camera. For those of you who've been on a larger set with a bigger crew, the director is not the person who holds the camera. Often it's not even the cinematographer that actually operates the camera. It's the camera operator or multiple camera operators. The filmmaker is the person who tells the story, the person that translates the concept of the script into images in order to produce a result, emotions, interest in the viewer. And that is the same if you're working on celluloid, if you're working on digital, if you're working in animation, or you're working in AI. AI is just the latest in a long line of tools that go back over a century that have allowed people to bring ideas to life, ideas that are going to affect other people, that are going to tell stories, produce emotion, create interest, build trust, and educate. In 2025 and onward, those goals will be the same. And for all the people that are worried that they're going to be replaced by AI, AI doesn't live in the human world. Even if it's trained on a million other films, even if it becomes technically proficient, it doesn't live in our world, and so it can't communicate to other people in the way that humans can. If you're still just showing up and doing a job rather than thinking about producing a result, then you probably are going to be replaced. My whole career, 25, plus years on film sets, everyone has tons of ideas. Everyone seems to want to be a director. When you're directing, everyone is suggesting things. We are now entering an age where everyone can be a director. There are no financial limitations, to budgeting a film, to making a film happen. There are fewer and fewer technical requirements. So you don't have to go through this long apprenticeship of learning how the camera works, learning how light works. You're able to pick up a lot of stuff or have the computer do it for you. What the computer can't do is say, what are you going to make? What are you going to produce? And how are you going to get that thing into the world? And what result is it going to have when it gets there? These are all things that I think good filmmakers have been asking their whole careers. They're always thinking ahead. What does this mean? How does this affect the audience? How is this image translated into feeling and translated ultimately into the impression that the audience leaves the cinema or watches the ad or watches the show with? Another example I was talking about with someone else the other day was music videos. Yes, you can produce an infinite amount of AI flash now, but how is that going to help an audience on Spotify connect with the people making this music? If you think of an insanely successful musician, think about all of their seminal music videos, the stories that they told, the characters that they played, and how important those music videos were in helping them connect to their audience and helping the audience connect to them. Even if it became photorealistic and perfectly 100% accurate, which may never happen, AI is not going to help make that kind of connection. You still need to go out and have people play music, come up with ideas, create concepts that say something about the musician's personality, that say something about the musician's point of view, their perspective, what their priorities are, what their interests are. AI can't generate that. It needs to come from somewhere human. Expensive TV commercials used to be a way for a brand to show how big a deal they were, how much money they had, how world-class their product was, how big a splash they wanted to make. That is definitely changing because, and has changed over the last 10 years, where digital and visual effects made that so much cheaper that brands have looked for other ways to distinguish themselves. There's always this almost like an arms race going on where big brands or Hollywood studios create a look and create an effect. Then over the next decade, independent filmmakers try and replicate that and get better and better and better at doing it. And then big Hollywood movies and big commercials need to do something different, something more. 5 years ago, the animation of the morphing things where one thing changes into another looked expensive. Apple used it. Spike Jonze directed commercials. Now you can produce that in VO in 30 seconds. And so brands will have to do something else. They'll have to do something new and different and fresh in order to get that experience and grab the people's attention. This has been going on for, since advertising began and since movies began. AI just levels the playing field and allows more people to play this game and the survival of the fittest. AI also allows us to create more niche content. Back in the 80s, when I grew up in Australia, there were only 4 television stations. And if you didn't want to watch something that was on those 4 TV stations, you didn't watch anything at all. We didn't have cable, we didn't have the internet. So all 20 plus million Australians had to watch whatever was on or not watch anything at all. Now it's changed. Now YouTube has a billion videos in every small little niche, every small little facet of micro interest. 20 years ago, there was no way you could make a documentary about, brutalist architecture in Scandinavia. It was just too niche. There weren't enough people and there wasn't a way to finding them. Now Scandinavian brutalist architecture, there's probably a dozen documentaries out there on it. Streaming and Netflix and YouTube allow you to hone in and find the few 100,000 people in the world who are really passionate about that. Whereas before, you had to conform to very mainstream tastes in order to get your movie out there. I think the age of the monolithic pop culture superstars is really on the wane. I think that it's going to be replaced by millions of small niche stars who make much more interesting music for the people that really like them. This means for filmmakers who want to direct music videos, who want to create content, there are so many more opportunities now. And with AI, so many more ways to make that content and make it different. Filmmaking itself is an anachronism. We don't shoot on celluloid anymore. We don't make film, physical film. We tell stories, we create images, we expand imaginations. And AI has become the cutting edge of how that's possible. You can check out my course in the link below. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.